Hi everyone, in this video we're going to talk about, can your ex stop you from using their surname after a divorce? And if you see me playing with someone, it's just Ziggy. He's helping me today, my little grandpuppy. So let's get started. So I got curious about this question because Letecia Stauch's ex-husband, during his victim impact statement, made a request to the court. He made a couple of requests to the court that I thought was quite interesting, and I'd like to talk to you about what happens in the UK. So let me just give you a little background information before we get started with this. So the jury just found that Letecia Stauch was guilty of murdering her 11-year-old stepson, and the jury did not think she was insane. And I've done a video on the insanity plea. If you want to watch it, I'll put it up there on the screen. Okay, so it's been just raining and we've just come back from a little walk as the rain stops. So you have to, in England, if you don't know, it rains a lot. So we have to get outside and do whatever we need to do while it's dry out. So we enjoyed that. So prior to sentencing someone, the court will give an opportunity to those who have been affected by the criminal act. And they will do this by allowing people to come up and make a statement, or sometimes they can write a letter to the court. And the reason you may not know that they do this is because even though judges use sentencing guidelines for sentencing, so each crime will have a scale. And if they can find out from the victims how it really did impact their lives, then hopefully they can make a decision that will deter others from doing the same kind of criminal acts, because the courts do take that into account. So after Letecia reported her stepson missing, the neighborhood got together and they did a search party, and one of the other neighbors had a camera on his house and he saw Letecia going in her vehicle with Gannon, but they never saw Gannon coming out after Letecia got back home. So this became very concerning, and so then Letecia started making up a whole bunch of different stories after that, and that's when I think the police realized there was something really serious going on. So once they started figuring out that something wasn't right, Letecia's ex-husband, or husband at the time, started working with the FBI and recording her telephone conversations, and still nothing was happening. They weren't getting any further. She just kept making up different stories. So I think that's why she tried to say she was insane, and then she actually made multiple personalities as an excuse for her lying and telling many different stories. Many people were affected by Letecia's behavior and criminal activity, as we'll find out in a bit. So there was a lot of witness impact statements from family members, which you would expect, and from the community, neighbors. It was really sad to watch. And once you're divorced, you no longer are a step-parent. And Letecia's husband had something to say about that as well, which I thought was really touching. And that would be the case in the UK. You'd no longer have any legal rights to a stepchild. So Letecia had her own child, and when he and she got married, he obviously became close to her child. So he was a bit worried how that relationship would go forward. So if you're wondering why they had custody of Gannon in the first place, well, Gannon's natural mother was having a baby and she was having some difficulties with that pregnancy. So Gannon was with them until that could be all sorted. And they'd made an arrangement between themselves, and that's perfectly acceptable. People do that in the UK all the time. You don't need the court's permission to do that. He also said that Letecia was very loving. Everyone said she loved Gannon, and Gannon loved her. So it's very strange that that such a tragedy could happen. He also went on to say how much he trusted her, and he had no reason not to trust her. So he had to work away, and he would leave Gannon in her care. She was a special needs school teacher. She was also very educated, so he had no reason to believe that his son was in any danger. Let's watch that clip of what the ex-husband is asking the court to do, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Letecia was not the glue to keep everything together. She was not the answer. And this is not a jab, Landon, okay? But Lena still lives with me. Letecia, you were not the answer. Now, Your Honor, if I have any influence on the final sentence for Letecia, first I ask to be stripped of my last name immediately. It's nauseating and infuriating to hear her called Miss Stauch this past 3 years. Secondly, I ask that for every mile she drove Gannon across the country, she spend 1 day in solitary confinement. I think that take us in between 3 and 4 years. After that journey is complete, I recommend her sentence be equal to every year she stripped off of Gannon's life, which for the average male in America right now is 77. So that would give her 66 more years, in addition to the 11 he lived. Lastly, for every year of Harley's life that she abusively manipulated that child, she should have an additional year of prison. That adds 21 years to the total. I think without parole, that should suffice.
I obviously haven't played the whole victim impact statement that he made, so I'll leave a link in the description area below so that you can watch that full clip. So what you saw there is that the ex-husband was asking the court if the court could make an order that Letecia would not be able to continue using his surname, and for the court to sentence her to solitary confinement. So the judge addressed the first query, that she should be sentenced to solitary confinement in prison. He said that the courts don't do that. It's up to the prisons to make an assessment, and the same thing would happen in the UK. The prisons make the assessment and adjust accordingly where the person should be held. And if you've watched my video up on the screen on what life is like in prison, then you'll find out a bit more about that. I can certainly understand why he was asking the judge for her to change her name and not use his last name, as it would be awful to be associated with her forever. In the UK, the court has no legal authority or jurisdiction to order someone to change their name, unless it's of course it's a child. But when it comes to adults that are divorced, because obviously you can have same-sex marriages as well. So as mentioned, in England and Wales, an ex-spouse has the right to continue using their married name legally, and no one has the right to ask them to change it. And we're going to find out in a bit why people have this choice. It's quite interesting, which I didn't really know. Either way, it's up to you. And some people accept divorce documents if you want to revert back to your maiden name, as mentioned, and the maiden name would be the one on your birth certificate. Okay, so the Depot office suggests that it doesn't matter if you use your divorce papers to legally change your name. So what the deed poll is telling us is that it's not the actual document itself that changes your name, it's just the evidence to show that in fact your name has been changed, and that you've been legally using a different name. So the other thing that people may not know is that you can change your first name, your middle name, your last name. There's nothing in law stopping you from changing your name at any time, and you can change it as many times as you like, so long as you don't have any fraudulent or other criminal intent. And I'll tell you why we have that option in just a second. This intrigues me even more. You can assume any name, you can have any number of combinations to your name, and the doctrine behind that is your legal name is the name that you're called by. This has been sorry, based in the ancient times. I have Ziggy trying to crawl behind me. This was based in ancient times. For example, if someone sues someone, okay, he's right behind me now. So if someone sues someone, they will sue you in the name that they know you to be called. And I always say this to clients: if you know the legal name of somebody, put it in, but you can also just put in the name that you've been told that they are. And if the other person wants to tell the court, no, that's not them, they would have to prove to the court that they are not one and the same person. And, oh dear. Okay. So they would have to tell the court that they are not one and the same person. And if they want to change the name to something else, then they would have to pay a fee to the court. So we always put AKA, also known as. If we know their legal name, then we'll put AKA after that, so that there's no confusion and they can't say that they are not the same person. On all your legal documents, they should, applications that you fill in, such as banks, marriage applications, license, they will ask you if you are known by any other name. And when you make a divorce application, they actually ask you the very same question. So if you need a police report, a background report, you must also tell the police any other names you have used in the past so that they can do the proper checks. And you can have your passport in a completely different name as well, provided that you have paperwork with you to show that either it hasn't been changed or that you go under two names, so that you know, you won't be questioned. As long as there's a picture ID of who you are, then you can use that. Does that make sense? So a lot of parents might do this. So the mother might have remarried and she wants to keep her passport the same as the children's names, so that when they go through customs, it will be easy for them to do so. So that's perfectly fine. And you just make sure, if you're asked, you know, for more idea, that you can provide that, like a marriage certificate that would show both names, or a divorce certificate. I don't think the new ones actually say which you were known by. So yeah, check that out before, because the newer ones don't give you that kind of information. But you would have it on your marriage certificate, so you could travel with your marriage certificate to show that you are known by two different names. I hope you found today's information informative and you learned something that you did not know. If you need legal help, as always, my contact details are in the description area below. Please like and share this video, as you never know who you might help. Why not watch some of our other videos? We have a variety of playlists you may be interested in, and as always, there are timestamps so you can jump straight to the area of interest that you have.